so proudly we hail, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the path.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Network. We're live right here in the NCTV 11 studio. That's where we are. Well, it's really the NCTV 191 studio. We're going to get to that. Oh, we are going to get to that. We're going to have a good old show on cable. I got to line up a couple of the right guests. But welcome. We are back. Wasn't here last week, unfortunately, because of a screw up with the weather and work. When there's weather, I usually am working. I'm usually the one working. And then there was no weather. So that was a double whammy. Sorry that we missed you. But we did get back to any of the emails that were out there. We have groups on Facebook. Just send me an email. I can send you a link. And there's always lots going on out there. Always lots going on. You know, first of all, we have a new email address. You'll note it up on the screen. It is Constitution for Freedom, the number 4, Constitution for Freedom @gmail.com. I've been hunting for this one. I've wanted it for a couple of years, but I have not been able to get it. It's just not been available. And on one of those, you know, every once in a while, you just kind of try. I tried, and bang, I was able to snag it, so I did. So it's Constitution for, the number 4, freedom @gmail.com. And that gets you right on into this computer where your thoughts can get right out onto the air. You can simply pick up the phone, and you can call 508-266-0990. That's 266-0990 in the 508 area code. No, I ain't got an 800 number. Just, you know, don't be so cheap. Pick up the phone and call. I know there's some people out there maybe from far away. It's all right. The phone plans are different than they used to be, though, anyway. All right, so tonight we have, back by popular demand, Mr. Jim Barnicle. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
How's things going?
Pretty good.
Very good, very good. It's good to have you here as always. I don't know if my chair, something's up with my chair again.
I'm up higher than you tonight?
One time I almost fell right back off the whole entire thing because I didn't know that the pin that you push in and out.
Right, for it to lean back.
Yeah, it was
in
out,
lean mode.
whatever position it was, and I went, whoo, I almost was gone. When I first started doing the show, I was like, we were in a studio in Stoughton, and they had, you know, like in an office, how you have the plastic thing so you can roll around easy?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Well,
mat,
because of
office
that,
mat.
I was just constantly moving around, and it was driving the
I
producers and
remember you
everybody
used to go
crazy.
like this.
Yeah, I still do, but see here, I'm doing it right now, you can
And you
barely
can't
see.
even see it.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
I've mastered it over the years. So how's everybody doing? What's happening? Lots of politicking going on out there.
Well, Red Sox start tomorrow.
Red Sox start
who's
tomorrow.
excited about that, but
They
I'm
had a
little
good
excited.
preseason, didn't they?
I think 22-9, Gary.
Yeah, I think they had some kind of an uplifting moment.
All right.
Bruins are looking good.
Bruins are looking
Celtics
good.
are looking
except
good.
for all the injuries, but yeah.
They said both teams injuries, but in spite of
galore,
it,
they still win. Yeah.
they're going.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You know, it's interesting. There was a meeting the other night. I got some math. I did some. I didn't do all the number crunching, but I've got the numbers that have been crunched, which is always nice. But anyway, I guess we get like another 1.57% for the new school because of our maintenance program and because it's so good.
Okay.
They actually will increase the amount that the state will give to the town because we have a good program, I guess, that's going. So meaning that it's a good investment, I guess, for the state, which makes sense. Total cost of this project. You ready? I'm going to say it fast so it doesn't hurt. $105.1 million.
This is in this town.
In this town. $105 million school. Now, if you want to go around and look at the schools that are being built, they're maybe, that's pretty good. I think $105 million, but they're 90, they're 80, they're 100. They're in that ballpark. I don't know if that's a great price
Is this
or not.
just for an elementary school, a middle school?
No, this is
a
for,
combined?
well, would this combine? Doesn't it combine? Yeah, it does combine two. It combines, it's Bomber
Okay.
and NES. Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So there's gonna, and that's what people were talking about. See, Harry would know more about this, but that's what people were talking about. There should be some additional cost savings as they go into one building. Now, I was reading on Facebook, some people said it was going to be more, but people were making a lot of sense when they said to me, how could it possibly be more?
So they're going to build A new building, then.
Build a new building.
On one of the two sites?
I gather, is that where it's gonna go? Let me just get, I wanna make sure that we don't, say false things.
Is it going to
Where's
be
it
on
going?
one of the two existing sites? The bomber
On
site?
the, yeah, out in the, yeah. So, there's a lot of questions. It's a lot of money. Here's my thing. My thing is that we only pay, see, I'm selling now, right? I'm selling. We pay $55.2 million. The town pays. The state will pick up the other $50 million.
Okay.
So, what I've heard is that we have trouble in both of those schools with the fact that the schools themselves are getting into jeopardy of not being allowed to operate.
Right, yeah.
Where we would then have to fix them. I guess fixing them and getting them up to code would cost, let's say between, and I'm just pulling this out, right, between 30 and $50 million. It's going to be big bucks.
Yeah.
Asbestos, you get all kinds of crap and stuff
Right.
going on in there.
So if it say it's 50,
So
it's really 70.
Right. So yeah, right, right. To renovate these, it seems as though the town is we're gonna have to, as a town, spend something on schools. It's gonna happen. And if we get forced, that won't be now. That'll be in 20 months, and the matching money goes away. So what we'll be left with is fixed up schools for the same price.
For the same price.
Why
For our
wouldn't
same 50.
right? Why wouldn't we just want to build a school? Now I'm not really into any of these taps. The other thing is, Jim, they're not looking for an override for this. They're looking for a debt exclusion, which means it's like a loan. It doesn't raise the levy, so to speak, like a 2.5 override would.
Right.
What it does is it just basically says, this is what you're spending. We're going to buy a bond, or however they're going to do it. We're going to buy for like a mortgage, either for 20 years or for 30 years.
Yep.
When it's paid off, that goes away.
All right.
So it's not built in and compounding every single year for the rest of eternity, like an override would.
And other towns have done this and been successful.
Yeah, Stoughton actually is in the process of doing it. They are spending a little bit more money, I think, than we are. They're spending, I think, about $130 million.
How long ago did they start that process?
They started an educational process, if I'm not mistaken, probably within the last 12 months, and I believe they voted on it about 2 months ago, and it won.
So about 20 years from now, we'll find out if that money actually goes away in that
If
town.
it goes away, yeah. But what we do know is debt exclusions have passed before, and the money does go. We just passed one in town a few years ago. To me, that's the only way to spend money. Why raise see, when you raise and this is what a lot of people don't get, is that it's not just the amount of money that you raise it, because everything is done on percentages. So they can raise up to 2.5%.
Right.
So if you say, all right, well, we're going to raise it 5%. Okay, so let's say that now they've raised it. They're 2.5. You've raised it 5. Now you've got 7.5%. But that just went up that amount. But now that amount is in the levy. So next year they will raise that by another 2.49% or 2.5% included in that money.
Yeah.
Thus, it's compounding constantly year in and year out. So in 20 years or 30 years, that more money that you were spending that was only 4% or 5% or 1%, whatever the hell it was, is now big bucks.
Right.
And that's how these taxes in some of these other towns have got so high. Because we don't do the overrides, so it can only grow at this small, even at the 2.5%. Let's say that they raise the levy 2%, and they don't do any overrides because they can. That 2%'s now in there. It's gonna next year they do another 2%. It's 2% on the 2%. It sounds like a Three Stooges thing, right? Or Abbott and Costello when he winds up owing him money after he lent him money. I mean, it was great, right? But if they do it over 30 years, which I think is a little long, but if they do it over 30 years, you're looking at about $603 a year for an
person.
average homeowner.
It sounds a little steep.
It does sound steep, and if you back that off to 20 years, you're at $777. So if you take that out and you want to quarterly it out, and then here we go, and everyone's going to come out and they're going to say it's only a cup of coffee. That's all it is, a cup of coffee. Well, not if you go to Cumberland Farms.
Right.
How's that for a segue, huh? Because a cup of coffee there's $1.
Yeah. Right.
So, but that's a lot of money. I would like to know what you folks think about that out there. I know you think a lot about it. I know We'll see what Harry has to say about that.
Oh, Harry's here already?
I don't know
He
if
has a
he's
phone,
here
right?
already, but I'm sure he'll be talking about this stuff. So that's going to be interesting. But you're looking at between 600 and 700. I don't see. Well, so go for 25 years. Get that number down a little bit.
Well, last time I owned a house here, Gary, I think my taxes were like $2,800 for the year. So
Yeah.
$600 over that 30-year period, per year over that 30-year period.
Yeah.
Geez, that's a good third of what. I mean, that's a third increase on the average homeowner in this
Yeah.
town.
It's steep.
It is still pretty steep.
It is steep. Which then begs the question: do you take the grant money that we can get, but do you build? And what a lot of our callers have talked about is, why do they need everything state of the art? Why does everything have to be the best projector and the best? Everything's the best, right? Why? Can we get by with just good?
Right.
But then the other side says, but why do we just want that for our kids? I mean, if the kids in Grafton have X, Y, and Z, and the kids over here have X, Y, and why shouldn't our kids have X, Y, and Z? So it's a real battle that can be drawn.
My kids have passed those schools.
Yeah.
But I've spent my fair share of time in those schools.
Yes.
And
Yes, you
yeah, and they probably should have been replaced a while back. So listen, I guess I sound like a for it right now.
I know, it's weird, isn't
What's
it?
going on
I
here?
know, it's very strange. I don't like but what happens is you get in these situations where it seems to me that the town is going to be on the hook for tens and tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
It's going to happen because they're not going to let you keep operating these schools that are so dilapidated.
Sure.
So let's say you save 10 million. So if you save 10 million, so maybe it's $500. I don't know, I'm just making it up.
Right.
So what really is, the difference, and then what are you getting now when you go to sell your house in 20 years because your kids are out of school and you've done your thing and you're going to leave.
Yeah.
First of all, the taxes in town as a tax rate is still low, which makes your house appealing. And you've got schools that if they're built this well at $105 million,
Yep.
I mean, what's the shelf life on a school, I guess, is the million-dollar question. I think it's got to be 50, 60 years. Some of these schools that we have here in town are how old? Probably 100 years old.
Probably,
some of these
yeah.
buildings. Maybe more. So, just
sounds
some
like a
food for
bargain,
thought.
Gary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You're bargain shopping
I'm
right
bargain
now.
shopping it now. But I don't like it. You know what it is I'm very mad at myself because I think I might vote for it.
Oh, you found a way to do it.
Yeah,
Like to convince
they-
yourself you could do it because
yeah.
it's not a tax increase per se. It's a debt exclusion.
Right, and it's a
I
it's
like
a
the
project.
term sounds
yeah.
good too. Debt
Yeah, because you're going to exclude that debt from the levy.
Right.
So you're saying that you can spend over the levy,
Right.
but you're not saying that you can raise the levy limit.
Sure.
It's a brilliant way to spend any money.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying to the town government is, we want this. We're going to approve for you to do this,
Yeah.
but this money is earmarked for this.
For this, yeah,
And you can't
right.
take it and
Can't
do
be
anything
general
else.
funded?
No, it cannot be general funded. So I think it's now I think you can earmark things. We had talked about this on Facebook with a couple of people in the know, and even they were kind of back and forth debating, some townies, if you will, what the earmarking could look like inside of an override. And once, one guy was saying, yeah, you can, the other guy's saying, no, you can't, and then they're looking at the charter, and can you change the charter, and blah, blah, and all that stuff. I mean, you're talking a long time before you settle all that. Plus, you can't just change the charter. In the charter, I think it tells you when you can change the charter. So you can't just change it every
can't
year.
change it.
Maybe it's every fourth year, every sixth year,
You
every
can
fifth year.
review it and
Right. Which probably isn't a bad idea because you don't want to have this sweeping change constantly.
Sure.
Because then nothing ever gets
right.
really vetted and tried
Yeah,
and
right.
can have a
Yeah.
chance to work. I don't know when the last time we did that was. What do I know? What do I know?
Any emails coming in yet?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
But you have some old ones to read?
I have old emails. Actually, this is the new
anything?
email. I don't have any old emails.
Oh.
I'd have to load in the other email account.
I didn't mean old. I meant like during the week this week.
During the week,
Leading up to
I
today.
just set this up.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think
I see.
I don't have
understand.
any.
Yeah.
And I can't go on my phone and type it in.
And
now.
find, no, but somebody might have sent something to the old one already.
They
right?
could have, which could be a problem for them. I get
Right.
you to talk to.
But if they're on the show,
Yeah, but if
they're on the show, guys,
if
let's
you're
do-
right, if you're watching right now and you sent an email and I didn't just read it, you sent it to the wrong one. Look on the screen. It's Constitution for Freedom. It's email.
I love that email too. That's great,
Isn't it?
I don't know how that would ever be available.
And it never was. And I think that there's probably 50 million of us right trying to get this email.
Yeah.
And we just keep trying and trying and trying, and finally I was the one
Yeah,
that got picked. How cool is that?
that's pretty cool.
I should buy one of the lotto tickets, huh? Maybe I'd make a few bucks.
Well, it's the Mega Millions right now. That's high.
Yeah, it's high.
Oh, my
What is it,
goodness,
4 or
it's
500 million?
500 million.
500 million. Imagine winning $500 million.
The show will look a little different, won't it?
Yeah, it will. So I was explaining this to my son. So he goes, so if you win $500 million, how much do you get? I said, well, it's an annuity. So an annuity is probably worth, and I'm just ballparking again, maybe 60% of it.
Yeah.
So if you won $500 million, I said, let's make the math easy. You'd get at least you'd say 250, so maybe you get $300 million, maybe.
All right.
And then you got to pay taxes on the $300 million.
Right.
Well, how much would that be? Probably close to $150 million.
Yeah.
So he says, so wait a minute.
So,
He
yeah,
says,
yeah.
so you win $500 million and you get $150 million.
Something like that.
I said, yeah, something like that, right about there. Well, he was appalled to the point that, it almost wasn't worth it for him to want to even think about playing anymore.
They'll deposit that check, though.
That's what I told him. I said, I think you'd be all right with the check. But
it
he was
is
appalled.
disgusting, and
Yeah.
there are some states that don't have a state tax on that lottery, but of
course we do.
this fine state is not one of them.
What don't we have a tax on? What don't we have a tax
Listen,
on?
I lived in New York for a while, so
Yeah,
it's nice to be back.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Isn't that something? Isn't that something when you say that about this state?
Right? I thought we were Taxachusetts for years and years. I heard Taxachusetts. Funny, yeah, we pay a lot of tax.
Yeah.
And then I moved there. Whoa. Although I will tell you that we have an excise tax here
Yeah.
that's supposed to keep those fine roads fine,
Oh, how about those roads?
right? And when I brought that up in New York, they were like, "What are you talking about? There is no excise tax up there." So
Isn't that something?
yeah,
Yeah. Imagine that. And they couldn't believe it.
right.
They're like, what do you mean?
What are you talking about? Pay tax on car on the road? What do you mean?
Why would I keep paying
$25
taxes
per
on that?
thousand
Right.
of the worth of your car?
They probably figure they cover that in their gas tax.
Yeah, right.
What do you got over here? I noticed you got some.
Oh yeah, well I
some
was
kind of a pamphlet.
yeah, I
What
was
are
at
you selling?
I was at hand. I'm not selling anything. Just a guy that looks like maybe there's a little promise there. He seems
All
like
right.
he's up your alley.
All right.
His name is Kevin Powers. I was at Hannaford's last week, and there were a couple guys out there looking for signatures, trying to get him on a ballot for Congress, and we're going to try and get him on the show.
Good.
I've
brilliant.
talked to him a couple times via Facebook, his Facebook page, and he's just into some pretty good things. He's a strong national defense, a 15-year plan for energy independence. Sounds great to me. I don't know what that means, but
Yeah, those first two ones, I would have to wonder about. What does it mean?
yeah, right. What does it mean? But this one you like. Strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
Well, I love that
Right
one.
now he's like
Yeah. Oh, we will be
climbing
talking
your
about
lap.
Mr. Hogg. Don't you worry, folks.
Oh, and he's taking a pledge on term limits.
Well, that's
which is
good.
another thing that's right up
solid.
your alley,
That's
right?
right up my alley.
And let's see, he opposes sanctuaries, cities for illegal immigrants, yeah, and he
good.
wants to strengthen our borders. Let's see, protect Social Security for our seniors, and that's about it at the moment. Anyway, I've been
What's
talking
his name?
to Kevin Powers.
Kevin Powers.
Kevin Powers.
Well, we should try to get him in here and see if he wants to talk a little freedom on the Freedom Network.
Yeah.
It's not a opinion-free zone.
Right.
So I know people sometimes they get a little, nervous. We're fine. We're fine with we have people on here. We don't beat anybody up.
Well, yeah, he had his campaign manager already watch a couple episodes just
Oh,
to
did
see
he?
if it would be a
see
venue
if it
that
would
he'd
be a
be
venue.
interested in.
You'll never
And-
meet
yeah.
this guy on the Freedom Network.
Well, because you seem to be somewhat in line with his politics.
Yeah.
It feels like a safe zone to him.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't like to create anything overly safe, to your point, because it's politics. My opinion. You're going to wade into it, into elected office, or you want to get into it. People are going to question you. You can't get mad about that.
Right.
Whether you're working, I don't care if you're a volunteer. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You're in that political machine. People are going to question it, and they have not just a right, but a duty to question what goes on in politics.
That's right.
So, I will question it, but I will say that we've had many disagreements here on the Freedom Network over the years, and one thing is people you want to come on the show, just come on the show. I mean, that's all. We disagree on all kinds
You
of
and I
things.
have plenty of disagreements during porch talk. We have a thing called
Yes.
porch talk
Yes.
that happens whenever possible.
Whenever possible. Sit down, sit on the porch, and talk. It took us a long time to come up with the name.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, excuse me.
But yeah,
choking.
Gary and I disagree more than you would think. So
Yeah, and it's that's okay. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. But this guy seems like he's a guy that maybe I would like to look
yeah, I
at.
can't say I'm a fan yet. I don't know
voting
enough
for.
about him, but I'm trying to find out a little more about him, and I'm hoping that he'll come on the show at some point and tell us a little more about him. You know.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of lined up.
Grew up in Milford.
He's from Milford.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, there you go. We'll get him in here. Let's talk to him.
We're
I'd love to
working on
talk
it.
to him.
Yeah. His campaign manager and I
Put
are
the staff
working
on
on
it.
it.
Put the staff on it, Jim. All right, so that's that. That's that. Now, can we talk for a minute about David Hogg? This kid that you've seen all over the television.
Oh yeah, the bright young kid that
the
wants
bright
to
young
take
kid,
our guns
yes,
away. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, the bright. I'm gonna get a little upset, maybe. I might. I'm just warning everybody. I could, because I applaud any protesting. I don't really care about that. It doesn't make me mad that they walked out of the school or that they continue to walk out of school. What makes me upset is the reasons and the fact that this is clearly a handled situation.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, this isn't them. All right, this isn't them. But I just took a few notes, try to keep myself on track. I want your
It's
opinion.
a shame though, Gary, because I think the kids wanted it to be them, but a variety of adults moved in and
Swooped in.
and,
I got
turned it
I
into
got a
something
little
else,
article
yeah.
about who swooped in. Too.
Yeah,
We can
okay.
go over that. Yeah, people with the money.
Yeah.
Because you think that they did this without money, right? So usually those that pay set a tone, set an agenda, and they're just using these kids as pawns. But at the end of the day, I just find this guy so offensive.
Right.
I find him offensive to the point that there was somebody in the Freedom Network. I posted a picture of him, and it said something like on the top, like one of those memes, and it said something on the top, the kids are going to, educate the adults on whatever that stupid comment you made. Then underneath it said, but wait, weren't you eating Tide Pods last week or something like that? Right? And this woman comments, right? It was such a funny comment. She goes, I just want to slap his face. That's what that was her comment. Because he's offensive, because here's a kid that's going to look at an adult and talk down to you as if you don't know. He knows, but you don't know, because he knows what's best for you, Jim. He knows.
Well, it would be fine for him to have that opinion if it wasn't. I mean, if it was more organic, let's say. That, it's certainly rehearsed. He's well versed in what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
But if he was coming from a passion standpoint,
Yeah.
like I'm just truly angry that you adults aren't, protecting us children in school. Okay, get off of your butts and do something about it. That's fine. That's genuine. And I have, even if my position isn't the same as his, I can appreciate.
Sure,
where he's
yeah,
coming
you could
from.
respect it.
Yeah, of course.
I think
But
the
that's not
respect
what we're
goes out the
talking
window.
about here with him.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he first of all, he wants to talk about the Constitution. He wants to talk about freedom. He wants to talk about these things. And he doesn't even know what we have for a form of government. He continuously calls the United States of America a democracy. As a matter of fact, he said he's going to show us how democracy works. First of all, you can't, well, he might be able to, because I think he's 18, but most of these kids can't vote.
Right.
So you don't partake in the government decision making because you're kids.
Right.
So you don't.
Right. Pretty soon illegals will be able to.
Right.
In certain states, anyway.
Well, at this
Even-
rate, I'd almost rather them over the kids. We might find a conservative in there, But the other problem is it's not a democracy. The United States of America is a representative republic.
Huh?
That's what we are, right? That's what we are. We are complete and intact with a rule book for the government. It's not for you. The rule book is for the government, called the Constitution.
Right.
There is democracy inside the states. In the states, you've got democracy because you're going to elect a senator, popular vote, right?
Yeah.
Everything happens without an electoral college. In the states, it's your first line of representation.
Sure.
When you get to the federal government, and that's what he wants, is a ban on the Second Amendment. That would take a constitutional override, which would take a majority of states to do. It's not even a democracy. He's clueless, and the thing that's funny is that no one even tries to clue him in, because it doesn't matter, because people just follow.
Right.
They just follow. I mean, did you see there was another funny thing on Facebook. It was all these kids, and they're marching, and then like fizzles from kids into a herd of sheep. And then it fizzles back into the, right?
I didn't see that.
They're just being led. It's awful. I think that David should stay in class a little bit more, though, so he can learn about what style of government we have that he wants to use against itself.
Sure.
I don't even know if he's wants to cannibalize the Constitution. I don't know. But what really got me about this young fella, oh, and did this ever get me, was the fact that he was actually said he was against clear backpacks. And he's against clear backpacks based on the fact that he feels it's unconstitutional. Right? So the school wants clear backpacks.
Sure, yeah.
Because they can
So
see
they can
inside
the
of what's
content.
going on.
Sure, yeah.
They're doing this to keep them safe, which is what they want.
Right.
They say. They just
say
want to be
they
safe.
want. Right.
No, they want to ban all guns, but
Right.
that's down the road.
Sure.
But he actually said that it's unconstitutional. Back up the happy wagon, man. How do you use this? How can you? I cannot. He cares. You know, it just. I can't even speak. It
I
makes
know.
me so pissed off. If I can say that, if I can, I'm sorry. But it baffles me. I'm trying to keep my cool. He has no care about the Second Amendment, but somehow he cares about other parts of the Constitution
Right.
because those are important to
Well, they
him.
suit him, yeah.
Then it becomes his opinion. So
Right.
David Hogg is going to decide which pieces of the Constitution are valid
Should apply.
and which aren't.
Right.
He's going to decide that. Can we play that clip? That
I
Mr.
do,
Hogg
and we need
clip?
to treat them as such, because right now it's disgusting.
One more about school. You mentioned your backpack. What do they do with your backpacks?
I think after we come back from spring break, they're requiring all of us to have clear backpacks. I think one of the other important things to realize is many students want their privacy. There are many, for example, females at our school when they go through their menstrual cycle, they don't want people to see their tampons and stuff. And it's just. It's unnecessary, it's embarrassing for a lot of the students, and it makes them feel isolated and separated from the rest of American school culture, where they're having essentially their First Amendment rights infringed upon because they can't freely wear whatever backpack they want, regardless of what it is. It has to be a clear backpack. What we should have is just more policies that make sure that these students are feeling safe and secure in their schools, and not like they're being fought against like it's a prison.
And what would be more?
That's just too funny. Let me mute that.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, that was
That's
great.
we had to listen to it.
Yeah.
So he hates the Second Amendment. Seems to think that somehow the First Amendment means that he gets a backpack that's not clear.
Right.
I'd love to. No, I would. I don't even want to get into his head. I don't. This kid enrages me, and he enrages me because he's handled. He's obviously handled.
Right.
He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Well,
he doesn't know what
right.
the hell
I don't
he's
think
talking
he really
about.
knows what he believes, but he's being told what he believes, and you know, there you have it.
Yeah. Well, this is very dangerous. You know, very, very dangerous. I even wrote it. Very. Look how many times
Yeah,
I
you
wrote
did.
it because I was this keyboard.
underlined it, too.
This keyboard took it's because it's misspelled or something.
Oh, I see.
This keyboard took a beating when I
You were
was
struggling with
through
very.
this show.
You were so mad when you were writing it that you
Yeah,
couldn't spell very.
and I'm a typer. Like I just type and look at other things, and I get the news going. So then I look back at them. What the hell was I even trying to say? And I have to rethink it. The reason, though, it's so dangerous is because for the Constitution to work, it's a package.
Mm-hmm.
It works well together, not in pieces.
Sure.
Because certain pieces are very important, like the Second Amendment. I mean, it's the big one. Never forget. We talked about this when I had Richard on the show. The Anti-Federalists, again, David probably thinks in 1776 we had a Constitution, but we didn't have a Constitution in 1776. It wasn't. I got to pull this out of my head. Was it 17? It was a decade later, I think. It was maybe more than a decade. 1791, maybe, I think. And weren't New Hampshire and Rhode Island, I think, were big holdouts signing it. A lot of the Anti-Federalists wouldn't sign it because there was no of that first 10 Amendment stuff in the Constitution. And they wanted that stuff in the Constitution. So they started to talk to each other through the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers. Mm-hmm. And they got an idea as to what it was going to take to make this happen. And that's what it took to make it happen. The Constitution was debated for, like I say, it was over a decade.
Yeah.
After. People will tell you that George Washington was president in 1776. He was not president in 1776. I think instead of walking out of school, these kids got to get back in school. And for the love of God, get somebody to teach a little more than just the skim it. Because they know it. A very close family friend, is a teacher. We argue about politics back and forth, but heart's in the right place. Good person.
Right.
And she's got great grasp of history.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if you teach it, but you damn well should be, because they need to teach more of it. I say things to young people like the Federalist Papers, and they go, the what?
The what?
That should be required reading in school. They should be dissecting those and not trying to form opinions, but understanding their opinion.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, they could. I mean, listen. It would probably be fun. They could set that up in school at a certain age level where they do the debating. You get a team of Federalists versus the anti-Federal, and you just do it that way and let them battle it out and see how we came to all these decisions.
That's absolutely right.
I would probably enjoy something like that.
I would too. I'd audit that class. I would. I mean, all he's trying to do, excuse me, here, he's trying to use the rights that he has protected in the Constitution.
Right.
David does.
Taking
And
away.
use that as a way to validate his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But then he calls people names. He swears. I had clips. I can't play them. I don't know how to put the beeps in, and I think the whole thing would have been beep like that, because this kid's got a real potty mouth. He swears all over the place of people that dare to want to exercise another right.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid's out of his mind. It makes as much sense as the flat Earth people.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me
We were going to
just
talk about
recently
those.
about flat Earth.
Yeah, we will talk about those flat Earthers. Do we got any flat Earth people here? Is Paul a flat Earth person? Is he coming in? I wanted to ask him. I guess it would depend upon.
I wish I was a flat Earth person, just so you and I could talk about it on opposite sides.
On opposite sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have some good debates. We'll get one going. We'll hit on something. You know what the problem is? Is the country's so freaking insane that at the end of the day, sane-ish people will just agree, because it's so warped out in God knows what field. It's like, come on.
But do you have a reasoning behind this flat Earth
Well,
theory?
I went.
Are they like Columbus descendants? No, he thought it was round, right? No, he didn't think he was going to fall.
No, yeah, Columbus
Others
was
around
the
him.
one that thought it was
others
around.
him
Yeah.
thought it was going to. Yeah.
See, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a ruse, and just something that people were like, joking about. So today, I went on Facebook, and I searched flat Earth. Groups come up by the dozen. So I go to what they call the Flat Earth Society.
Okay.
Thousands of members. Thousands and thousands of members.
Crazy.
And they're actually playing. They have clips, scientists. They have videos. They actually have a video of, they're up in Antarctica, and they have a huge wall of ice. And they say that's the end of the Earth. You can't go beyond that. Right? They believe this.
You can't fall off it though.
I don't know. I couldn't. I was
with
laughing.
gravity and
I mean,
everything.
it was like comedy. But these people were serious.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. These
I
people
believe you.
believe that the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
Some of them believe in a half moon kind of situation where it's flat on the bottom, but it's round like this, which is why you seem to think,
Yeah.
and I just.
So yeah, isn't there a movie like that? But it's a town, Jim Carrey movie.
Oh, well, that's
remember
the
that?
one, the Truman
Truman Show, yeah,
But he was
right?
like
he was
kept
in a
there.
dome, right?
Yeah,
but he
was
didn't
kept
know.
there.
He didn't know. But ultimately, when he
Yeah.
was figuring it out, he got to those ends.
Yeah, he did.
Right?
Great show. It's one of those movies that when you're flipping through late at night, you know you're in trouble because you can't stop
That
watching.
and My Cousin Vinny.
I've
never stumbled across My Cousin Vinny and not watched
Wow.
it from wherever it was.
No, I don't
Didn't
see
matter
how
where
you
it
could.
was.
I don't
What do you
see how
say,
you could.
Troy? My Cousin Vinny, right up there with you got to watch if you cross past it. He's not
likes it?
listening. He
He's
ain't
not
listening.
listening.
No, he didn't even need to nod his head like this. They got something else going on in there.
Yeah, they're having a party in there. That's what they do. I don't know. It just seems very strange to me. Just seems very strange to me. But, also about this kid, we get lots of people alongside of him that are wearing things like commie flag symbols and socialist symbols and certain flags of communist countries and stuff like that. Why is it that when we see so many of these kids, they wear symbols of everything America was founded to protect
against? Yeah.
Why? How does that work?
I don't know.
How can it possibly be that we are, you talk about movements bringing up dregs of society. To me, communists and socialists are like the dregs of society that is not good, never works out. So how do they get control? How does, I think that the David kid and maybe the girl with the Cuban flag, the old Cuban flag, I believe it was, maybe they are socialists, and that's just what they believe, and, their form. They'll pick what
their
you can
philosophy,
do.
That what feels right to them. Yeah.
Right. But I think that you've got a
Well, I
lot.
don't think they feel it that way. Like, well, let me decide for you what's best for you. I don't think they feel it that way.
You don't think they feel it?
No, I think they generally. Listen, you can't be that headstrong about something and not just feel like that's the way it should be.
Right.
I mean, I don't think the vast majority of them are looking at it as if I should be telling you what to do. They just feel like, no, everybody should realize that I'm right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't know.
Let me keep talking to you about what is right so that eventually you'll come around and realize. You'll be enlightened.
Yeah.
And you will also know what's right.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The
Listen,
agenda's
there's
real.
definitely
It's a real agenda.
Listen, don't get me wrong. There's plenty out there that just are pushing an agenda. No question.
Now, what do you think about? I mean, to me, it's sad they use pawns, right? But last month, I had even put a reference to the Tide Pods, right? Last month, these kids are eating Tide Pods, and this month they're going to decide on my freedom. And that's why you're kids, because we know that you're flighty and you're crazy. We all were. You were. I was, right?
Yeah.
Now you get a little bit older. You've got a little more, and I get that this kid was in a, he was in a shooting, traumatic. Yeah. Who knows how we'd feel if we were in a shooting, right?
Right.
But at the same time, which you probably see where I'm going, does that make him an expert on it? I was watching this guy on Facebook. He brought up a great point. He had a video. And he said, so is anyone that's in a fire an expert on fires? Right. Is there someone that's in a car accident an expert on accidents? Well, do we go to people that are in car accidents and say, how should we make the car so it doesn't get... Maybe they do. I don't know. But I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. No.
Just because you go through something doesn't mean you're an expert on it.
No, but you're kind of an expert on how one might feel about it.
Yes, how you feel. Right. Yes, you definitely are. So let me ask you a question. This is the big question. Here's how you know it's an agenda, right? I don't know. This email's nothing. We usually get 5 or 6 emails. Nothing.
It's a new email.
It's a new email.
Give it a little time.
Give it some time.
Give it a little time, yeah.
Let that lure sit a little while. See it. So. We didn't even plan that. So why don't we ask David? David, I ask you,
You want David to call the show?
David, call the show. Tell me why you don't march against cell phones. Where are the marches for cell phones? Do you know that I found on a website that's called Teen Safe? It's actually a pretty neat little website. It's got all kinds of ways that teens can get themselves in harm's way.
Sure.
And gives you a lot of statistics to, I think, kind of scare them away from doing things like texting and driving.
Yep.
You can look it up. It's teensafe.com, I think. 9% of drivers between the ages of 15 and 19 involved in a fatal crash were distracted at the time of the accident.
That's vague, though.
It's very, because what were you distracted by?
Right.
So, you could be distracted by other kids in the car. So we should make teenagers drive alone, because they can't handle, I guess, driving with people in the car.
Yeah.
And obviously no phone.
Right.
I mean, those should just be banned outright.
Right.
Didn't he float 21 and over
Probably shouldn't
for
have
guns?
Probably shouldn't have a radio because, I mean, you might
That's
look
right.
around to turn
Of course.
the station.
Of course. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, because you take the phone, they'll actually have to use the radio. Now they just run around. They're on YouTube.
Right,
And they're
right,
getting,
right.
they're typing and doing their thing. This is a good one. Not a good one, but an interesting one. Just under 3,500 people were killed in distracted driving accidents in 2015, and almost 400,000 were injured. 400,000 were injured. 3,500 people killed in distracted driving incidents. Why aren't they out there trying to ban these phones and all this like we're talking? And I'm not trying to be funny. Based on these texting and driving facts and statistics, it's clear that distracted driving is a huge problem facing our society. It goes on to say, teen texting and driving facts and statistics. 94% of teens acknowledge that texting while driving is dangerous.
Yeah.
So they all agree on it,
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah.
11 teens die every day as a result of texting and driving. How many kids die a day because of school shootings?
Right.
11 a day. Today, 11. Yesterday, 11. Tomorrow, 11. 5 days from now, there'll be 55 more.
Unfortunately, I might be able to help their argument, though. There are states
Yeah.
that have made being on the cell phone illegal,
Yes, like this one.
right?
Yeah.
And, well, not just texting, but being on the cell phone at all.
Oh, even
you know,
talking. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I guess over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see if that accident rate goes down, the
Yes.
death rate goes down, and if it does, Gary, that almost
Well,
almost
I
gives them a
I
play
think, Jim,
on.
I think if it does, what it would show you is that, you know, first of all, the number will go down. It won't be eliminated.
No, right,
People
right.
are still going to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other thing is that it shows you that, yeah, total ban might actually work. So then that's all you can do, I guess, is ban guns.
Right.
And it still isn't going to get to that level
Right.
that it's worth screwing with the Constitution over. There were 11,000 people last year murdered. I think it was 11,000 with a gun, roughly. 11,000 people. There's 400,000 people getting hurt because of distracted driving.
Right.
Maybe there's a
Where's the-
threshold.
where's the real
Right,
crisis?
right. Maybe there is a threshold. Maybe what you're saying isn't totally false. But maybe there's a threshold as to where relevancy comes in. Well, how can that bastard say that? Relevancy, a dead kid isn't relevant? Sure, a dead kid's relevant. Anybody that's adversely affected by anything is relevant.
Right.
But you don't make policy for 300 plus million people based on the actions of,
11,000.
yeah, and that's not even the actions of 11,000.
Right. Right.
And then when you get really into it, out of the 11,000, over 50% are gang related.
Yeah.
So don't be in a gang. Now you're down to 6,500.
Well, if we make gangs
Well,
illegal, then
5,500.
gangs will probably just disperse, right?
Well, of course they would disperse because they'd be illegal. Teen drivers are 4 times more likely than adults to get into car accidents while texting or talking on a cell phone. So we're better at texting and driving, David. We're better.
Adults are.
So that's why we should just ban it for you.
Right.
You just want to ban my
Gotta be-
guns.
gotta
He
be
wants
25.
his First Amendment.
Let's make it 25.
25,
Let's
yeah,
make
all
it
right.
25.
You're right.
If you want to text in the car. Well,
1 out of every 4 car accidents in the United States is caused by texting and driving.
Nice.
25%. Wow.
Auto body industry loves that.
Yeah, well, I know I know a few people in the auto body industry, and it's funny, we were talking about this, and he has said that since the texting and the phones and all that, he's been doing this for a lot of years,
Yeah.
that has become a huge part of their business, and it is mostly kids.
Yeah.
And their parents come in, kid was in an accident, what happened? You text him. Business is booming.
Right.
Well, David might want to, he's a socialist, he'll probably want to add a special tax to that.
Right. He wouldn't want to eliminate that. He just wants to add the text to it.
Now, here's the one, right? You hit the nail with 25. Cell phone use is highest among 16 to 24-year-old drivers.
Yeah, there you go. 25. I didn't
25.
Even know that. I didn't even know that.
See? And I know you're blind. You can't read it.
I can read a little better from this distance than I
Can
can.
you?
Yeah. If I
Yeah.
was like next to it, I would be able to see it.
To me, I mean, this is a much higher number than those that are murdered with guns.
Right.
I will equate to what you said as well. What about drugs? They kill far more kids than guns do. And note, banned. Note they're banned.
Drugs are banned?
Yeah.
Most of them. anyway,
Most of
yeah.
them.
Right.
The harsh ones.
Right.
The really harsh ones.
Sure.
We could go there too. We could fight about that for 15 minutes. But banning drugs didn't work. But somehow banning guns is going to work. No logical thinking person could possibly think that banning anything makes it go away.
Right.
If you ban cell phones, it'd still be texting
Sure.
while driving.
Sure.
I mean, it wouldn't stop. All it does is affect people that follow the law anyway. That's all these things do.
Right.
People that break the law don't follow the law. Hogg and others say they want 21 plus on guns. The state, what was the kid's name oh God, my mind just went blank, where the service officer shot him dead. Unfortunately, there was a fatality in that. He was going after his girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
That kid was in a state where you have to be 21 years old to buy a handgun. But he had one in his hand.
Yeah.
So this is where I say to you that they want to say 21. And then when they do that, they'll come back and say, gee, you know what? It's not helping. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to do this. All these things that we listed, drugs to cell phones, radios, all the take lives. They all take lives. Why not just ban cars? You know how many more people would be alive if you just were no cars?
Yeah, well, the horse trampling would go up. Death via horse trample.
Yeah, I'm just on fire about it, Jim, because it's an agenda, an anti-constitutional agenda. It's not about saving this one's life, saving that one's life. So I said, let's follow the money. Can we follow the money?
Sure, let's follow
the money. So I went to CBS because I figure, sometimes when I like to get a kick out of things, I'll go to a liberal outlet. And I go to the conservative ones, I go to the liberal ones, I go to the fringe, left, right, up, down, I don't really care. I just want information and then I'll make my own decision. But it's funny to find this stuff on the liberal outlets because you really sometimes have to search for it. This one was pretty easy to find. I went to NBC and started trying to look up gun stats. And they are so hard to find. They're there.
Right.
But they're buried and they're written. No matter what, there's an excuse. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And some kind of something with it. CBS says the March for Our Lives rallies unfolding in Washington, D.C. and across the country Saturday have attracted hundreds of thousands of people protesting gun violence. And a handful of prominent celebrities have pledged donations. Let me just go through this. I don't have to read this entire thing. But let me pick out some names. Financial support from stars including Taylor Swift and George Clooney. Swift, who stays quiet on social issues, started out her career as a country music star, broke her silence on gun control via Instagram. She announced Friday that she donated, although didn't disclose an amount. No one should have to go to school in fear of gun violence, she said. But I have to go to drive by a school in fear that I'm going to get killed by a kid texting. That's okay. My life don't frickin' matter, right? I don't get the logic behind these people. They open their mouths, they just talk because they just want to hear themselves talk. I've made a donation to show my support for the students for the March of Our Lives campaign. The March for Our Lives. They should be careful marching with all the texting out there. For everyone affected by these tragedies and to support gun reform. What is that now? I've noticed that cropping up, Jim. Gun reform?
Rephrased it.
They've rephrased it. Not control, because control's scary. We're Americans. We don't like control. So they're not. We're going to reform the gun laws. We'll reform the gun laws. Swift announced donation came after pledges from other big names, including Clooney and his wife, Amal. They pledged $500,000. And they would join the rally
money
as well.
that fell out of their pocket when they were
It must have.
pulling out their bills to see how much money they had.
Clooney and his wife, and I'll quote, are so inspired by the courage and eloquence of these young men and women from Stoneham Douglas High School, Clooney told People magazine. Our family will be there March 24th to stand side by side with this incredible generation of young people from all over the country. And in the name of our children, Ella and Alexander, we're donating $500,000 to help pay for this groundbreaking event. Oprah Winfrey cannot be outdone.
No.
So she matched the pledge. Another $500,000.
Nice.
goes
Milled
there.
just like that.
Yeah. She tweets out, George and Amal, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm joining forces with you and will match your $500,000 donation to March for Our Lives. These inspiring young people remind me of the Freedom Riders of the 60s who also said we've had enough and our voices will be heard. So wait a minute. In the 60s, all right, they were all about, this is where these liberals are gone, first of all. Those liberals are gone. They've been replaced by socialists. They weren't socialists.
Right.
The hippies all out there and their peace and love and this and that. They wanted no government.
Yeah,
All right. If you were
right.
to go to a hippie
yeah.
and say, should the government make a law about no? That's what they'd say. There should be no laws. They were like libertarians
Sure.
today.
Yeah,
How things change around.
Yeah.
There would be no way that they would support a march, right? to curtail their rights.
Right.
Now, they were against war.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm against what's going on with these wars myself these days. Does that make me a liberal? I'm not, I'm not going to go over and sit on a tank with a terrorist. I got to watch my,
I wasn't helping you with it
It
either.
formed.
I'm like, I'm
No,
not
you're
sure
like, I
what
don't
you
know
want
what
to
he
say.
wants to
I want to
say.
help you, but I don't know.
He's gonna swear. Don't let him swear. Let's see. The young students in Florida and now across the country are already demonstrating their leadership with confidence and maturity. Kate and I applaud. Who is this? This is Steven Spielberg. Kate and I applaud their efforts to take a stand for the benefit of this and future generations. As an
applaud with some more
inspiration
money,
to us all.
or?
We're joining the movement with their own donation of $500,000.
Nice. That seems to be the
That's the going rate.
Entry fee.
That's the price of admission.
Yeah.
$500,000 to prove you're a good socialist too.
Nice.
Film executive Jeffrey Katzenberg also joined in, claiming he offered $500,000 to the movement. Organizers hope Saturday's rally in Washington will attract 500,000 people.
And 500,000 people?
Yeah.
What is it? What's the correlation with 500,000?
I don't know. Something's going on here. And they were planned in more than 800 cities across the country and around the world. Oh, the globalists want this.
Oh, sure.
Sure. If you're an NWO person, yeah. Well, I don't know. But do they believe the Earth is flat? I mean, they don't spend a lot of time in school, so they might think the Earth is flat. Some of these folks.
I want to hear the argument for it.
I'm going to show it to you. I'll show it to you after the show.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you after the show. It's. I mean, it's when you read this, you're gonna honestly and truly, you're gonna think that it's a put on. I did.
Okay.
And then as you
So
start
you
to
won't
read the
you won't
comments,
start to feel like there could be something to this. Like no. It
no,
doesn't make
you do for a minute. You might. There's a couple videos where you're sitting there and you're like, well,
I mean, I kinda want it to
the
sway
best
me so
one
that I
was
can argue
this.
with
The
you
best
about it.
one was this, right? This was the best argument. So here,
Yeah.
they say that the Earth is actually shaped like this,
Yeah.
right? So you can see over the horizon.
Sure.
See how there's a horizon? You can keep going like this.
Yeah.
But then on the bottom it's flat.
Right. Is there anything going on the bottom?
I didn't get that far into the video.
all right.
I just couldn't. I mean,
because maybe you could live in round Earth or flat Earth. I mean, maybe you could just
like a paradox.
Yeah, like go back and forth between the two. I don't know. I mean, if there's something going on, things could be much better on flat Earth. I don't know.
They could be better on flat Earth.
I want to check it out. If it's real, I want to be there.
You want to be there.
Just to check it out.
Just to check it out. I mean, all these
warmer,
years,
colder?
Columbus was wrong.
Yeah.
Leif Erikson was wrong.
Yeah.
They didn't go around the world. No one's flown a plane around the world.
Right.
I mean, come on. The Earth is round. It's round. You can tell it's round.
I can't
You
see
fly
the
in a
whole thing.
plane,
I
you
can't
can
see
kind
the
of
whole
tell
thing
it's
at
round.
once, though.
No, you can't.
They
You
have a
can't see
point.
the whole thing at
You
once,
can't
and
see the
that's what
whole
they
thing at
say.
once.
They say the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. Right?
Yeah, you can't see the whole thing at once,
can't
and
prove it.
and they also
Prove it to me, Gary.
they don't believe we've ever been in outer space. I don't
Yeah.
believe.
Well, I think we've been in outer space. I have mixed feelings about the moon.
You have mixed feelings about the one. You
do.
do.
I do, yeah.
Oh, that's great. I don't know. I
I'm
want
sharing that on TV. I don't share that really with anybody.
You know, you do.
I mean, I think we may have been to the moon since then, but I just don't think we went to the
You
moon
don't
when we
think
said we went to the moon.
when we
That's
went to
all.
the moon,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was too important that we be on the moon then.
Yeah.
So we just said we were.
we were there.
Yeah. I think there's something to that. That's all.
I don't know.
And I'm not a conspiracy theory guy.
Well,
at all.
I don't mind conspiracy theories.
No, but I'm not really one of them. I hate that kind of
I
thing.
think that they make so many of them up, basically with the
I said that.
intent.
I'm sorry. I just exposed myself a
You
little
did.
bit.
You did. You're exposed. How do you feel?
Oh, I'll live with it.
You'll live with it?
Yeah.
That's all right. I don't think that Tower 3 on the World Trade Center fell by itself, so how you doing? All right. So, I don't know. Trump wants the military to foot the bill for the wall, I read today.
Yeah.
What the hell happened to
happened to
Mexico?
Mexicans?
Yeah. I mean, I thought Mexico was paying for this wall. He's just, I don't know. If he just would end the undeclared, endless wars, end the wars, bring the troops home,
Right.
put them on the border,
Yeah.
shoot people that come over.
Right.
Done.
Right. Or at least threaten to.
Let's build a school. We're done. We don't have to worry about that anymore, right? I don't know.
That would probably work.
Oh, I don't know.
It might
I
cost
think he's
less.
spending as much as Obama. I think that's where
I
he's
think-
going to wind
yeah,
up.
I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's where he's going to wind up, and I think that's
Remember that
disgusting.
the post I did the other day with Rand Paul looking with holding
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the tax. Oh, I shared the you know what out of that everywhere
Yeah.
I could. Did you see that tax bill? This thick. And they gave him what? An hour
yeah,
or two
right.
to read it? Here, guys, we're going to vote on this in 27 hours or whatever the hell. I don't know. And people are just like, oh, yeah, you know.
I love Trump.
Yeah, Trump. All right, next week
Would've been great if
we'll
he
play
vetoed
with
that.
Trump a little bit. It would have been great if he vetoed it and said, look, I can't sign this because it puts like 20 generations from now in debt.
All right. Plus, I don't have enough time to really read it myself. So let's face
Right.
it, he didn't read the whole thing.
We got to
either.
pay for a school, Donald. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right. Well, that's our show for the evening, folks. Thanks for joining the Freedom Network. Thanks for being here,
Thanks for
Jim.
having me, Gary.
We'll talk to you all next week. Hopefully, Jim can come back and we'll get into a little more Trump stuff.
There you go.
All right. See you then.
Oh, say